Hi. Chapter 3 is talking about external assessment. Now, in the chapter 2, you are actually talking about your own profile, mission statement, vision statement will define who you are as a corporation, what you want, what will be your value, what will be your target, what will be your concern, right? So that will definitely define who you are. Once you know who you are, then you can actually see the environment where you have to compete. Okay? So if you look at the environment, you have only two different types of environment. One is external environment, external forces. The other one is internal environment and internal forces. External forces is the environment that you have to deal with. The environments are given for you. So when you enter the competitive environment, external forces are something you have to creatively deal with through the strategies. At the same time, external environment will create opportunity for you, also threat. Internal environment is your own strengths and weakness. If you have a lot of patent, that's going to be your strengths. If you have small market share, then it's going to be a weakness. Okay, if you have a poor promotion ability, it's going to be a weakness. Chapter 3 is focusing on external environment. But if you look at these two different types of environment, now you understand why SWOT analysis is important. SW, strengths and weakness, which is your own strengths and weakness, which will be used to deal with O and T, opportunity and threat. Okay. Now, there are five different elements of the external forces. One is economic force, and social, cultural, and demographic, and also natural environment forces. Then technological force, then competitive force. I'm missing political, legal, and government force. Sorry, my brain is not working pretty well. Economic force is definitely income level of a particular market, or willingness to spend money on your product, or inflation, unemployment rate. These are definitely influencing the sales of your product, and also preference to the particular product in your segment. How about trade policies? Is very protective trade policies, or very open trade policies, or very tricky trade policies? For example, if you wanna export tulip bulbs to Japan, and Japanese inspector could say, you have to make it half. Just make sure your tulip bulb doesn't, have any disease or anything. The problem is that if you cut the bulb half, then you can't sell it. That's a trade policy. It's a trade barriers. But you cannot actually sue the Japanese government and say, hey, this is ridiculous. So it can be, the economic actually barriers. Sometimes it's a legal barriers. But at this moment, trade policy is definitely economic barriers. How about tax? Value-added tax in Slovakia, for example. If you go to the restaurant, you're going to pay the consumption tax plus value-added tax. It's a special tax. So it's pretty expensive when you eat outside in Slovakia. That's definitely discouraged, the eating outside. But drinking is different in Slovakia. Drinking is super cheap in Slovakia. You can go for drink, but you don't want to go for eating. How about exchange risk? Yes, exchange risk is definitely economic environment. If the country has different currency, you have to exchange to the foreign currency to do the business there. We have hard currencies, which is Japanese yen, euro, and US dollars. These currencies are used universally in international business and less riskier than the soft currency. Okay, soft currency is some local, like a Thai baht, that will be soft currency. Okay, but whenever you exchange, the currency, you may lose money, or sometimes you gain the money. So if the exchange rate differentiation is so huge, you have a huge risk, correct? But you can change the exchange rate. So that's going to be economic risk. You have to deal with it. There are so many ways to hedge this risk, like a forward contract, for example, options. At the same time, for example, Honda making the same cars in the America and the Japan, and they actually play with the exchange rate. If the Japanese yen goes up or goes down, they start exporting car to Japan or importing from Japan. So they actually balance the profitability. Not only that, they actually hedge the exchange risk. That's how they deal with the economic risk, which is economic force. Okay. Social, cultural, demographic, and natural environment. This is one of the external forces. Divorce rate, or life expectancy, aging society, or culture. The culture is a very tricky word. Like cultural differences. If you say that, you feel like you understood everything, about culture, but that's not really true. Culture has three different persistence according to past dependence. The first value is identical value. For example, every culture supposed to have the value loving people is good, or killing people is not good. Also, the second type of the strengths is the cultural value can be influenced by different cultural value. This is something you can play with your strategies. You can learn, you can share, you can adapt the new value, or you can let local people learn your value, and share your value, and adapt your value. That is something really important ideas for the international business. The last one is untouchable cultural value. For example, religion. You can't deny. Let's say, okay, I came from the Buddhist country and I came to the Christian country, and I don't like Jesus Christ. You can't do that. You shouldn't touch that, because that value will not be changed. So that is actually untouchable cultural value. So you have to think about where you have to use the strategies. Natural environment, such as pollutions. But natural environment can be also public opinions. If you successfully influence natural environment through your innovations. Hybrid cars is a really good example, which created the very positive natural environment, as an environmental force to the particular companies. So people start thinking about hybrid engines good for, to reduce the air pollutions, save the gas consumptions, everything. That's unique examples. Actually, the company could somehow create external forces and bring to them very positive way. Okay. Now, political, legal, and government environmental forces is political conditions. What kind of political condition is stable or not stable, or very friendly to your country or not? How about tariff? How about trade policies? Again, trade policies can be legal environment or can be economic environment. Okay. Now let's talk about tariff. now you have a Trans-Pacific Partnership now. The Trans-Pacific Partnership may create the largest free trade zone in Asia, and the USA will be part of it. They eliminate tariff, the free, move of the product. That would definitely give you opportunity. At the same time, they give you threat because foreign products will come to your market where you may be dominating. So you really have to deal with the foreign product to protect your market share. Okay, so it can be a threat, it can be opportunities. Technological environment. Of course, the IT revolution will change the whole of our life. At the same time, IT savvy generation will create another demographic or even culture or social environment. Okay, and also, like technological innovation can create substitutions. Like you remember hybrid engine could be a substitution to the gasoline engine, or electric engine can be substituted. The gasoline engine in the future, maybe. So these are another technological environment. Again, it's going to be opportunity, it's going to be threat. Competitive environment. How about your market position? How about market size? How about the nature of the competition? The nature of competition can be explained by the Michael Porter's 5 forces model of competition later on. Okay. How about new entry? What kind of new competitors are coming? How about entry barriers, or how about exit barriers? You want to enter the company, into the market, but because of the entry barrier, you cannot do that. Or you want to get out of the competition, but you can't get out because the exit barrier is high. You have to deal with it. It's going to be a pure threat. Okay. Now, you already know these external forces will give you opportunity and threat. Okay, so you have to deal with that. But again, how you deal with it, that is strategic planning. Okay, for me, you just find the economic environment. That's great. But if you know how to deal with it, particularly what kind of directions you should take, that will make you strategist. For example, for me, transformation is very important. If I know threat, I will think if I have some idea to transform the threat to opportunity, or if I can transform the threat to like irrelevant factor, which is neutralization, neutralize it. How we do it? For example, if this is the threat, can we invest in the certain area of the business so we can actually deal with that? Or we can actually suggest another substitution product to actually transform threat to opportunity? Or we just walk away from the particular segment of the market, so we neutralize the threat. See, this is transformation. And of course, if you have opportunity, you definitely try to capture the opportunity. But I really want you to think about in reality which direction you should be able to take. In order to decide such directions, you're supposed to know internal environment, which is your strengths and weakness, and then what kind of segment you should target. You should be like ideal. Then check your mission statement. If something go beyond your mission statement, either you change the mission statement or you actually change the direction. Now, your textbook, you have a EFE matrix. You have opportunity and threat, very important opportunity, very critical threat. And you have weight, importance for industry. Then you have a rating, which is your ability to deal with opportunity or threat. Then you actually evaluate, yourself in particular external environment, and you may find certain directions. You may find a certain area you need to invest, you need to improve. CPM, competitive profile matrix, is more like comparison among competitors. So instead of opportunity and threat, you actually take success factors. The success factors means the items that every company in particular industry has to satisfy in order to survive and become successful in the segment. So you actually put success factors, and you actually put you, competitor A, competitor B, and put abilities, your abilities of success factor, how much you can actually successfully achieve or satisfy these success factors. And same thing for your competitors. Then you compare. Then you, at the end, you have a total score of your competitors, including yourself. Then you can compare how strong you are, how weak you are. That is good. But for me, again, the CPM may give you a competitive advantage, sense of competitive advantage. Because success factors, you have to satisfy, but it's really difficult for you to satisfy everything. So if you can satisfy a few success factors, that might be actually strategic focus, or already your competitive advantage. So why not? Let's use it. Use to cover some problems in another success factors. That may establish unique position in particular segment. See, you think how you can use EFE matrix and a CPM as a strategist. That would be more like realistic, thinking. Okay. Now, finally, let's talk about the 5 forces model of competition. This model was developed by the Dr. Michael Porter of Harvard Business School. He established this model based on his intensive study in the tile industry in Italy, and also motorcycle industry in Japan. The main focus of this model is to find interrelations between rivalry among competing companies and 4 different forces. Okay? The 4 different forces include potential development of substitute product, bargaining power of consumers, and potential entry of new competitors, and bargaining power of suppliers. How these each of 4 forces would interact with rivalry among competing companies. In other words, how these 4 factors create competitive environment. Let's talk about the potential development of substitute product. It's almost impossible to create substitute product. Then the competition will be severe, because product may not be really differentiated. But if the substitution will be done easily, then maybe each company may find some niches to survive as different competitions. Have a bargaining power of consumers. When switching cost of consumers is low, then consumer has a higher bargaining power. Switching cost means cost to switch suppliers. So if so many companies exist and producing almost identical product and selling it, the consumer has maximum power of the bargaining power. So, that means competition will be really severe, and eventually the market will be legally monopolized. More like integration to a few major competitors. But if the consumer's bargaining power is very low, which is actually only limited numbers of supplier offer, or each supplier offer very unique product, then the library may not be really powerful. So actually each company can establish own market position. That goes to actually bargaining power of suppliers. Okay. Potential entry of new competitors. How about entry barriers, exit barriers? If you have so much space for the new entry, then the library among competing companies will be expected to be higher. But if not, then basically library will be getting lower and lower because of integration to the major players. Okay, this is actually the nature of interaction between four forces and one force, which is competitive environment. If you understand this interrelationship, it will give you not only to interpret external environment now, but also give you scenarios of your strategic directions. Okay, that's why I chose external assessment, EFE, CPM, and the five forces model of competitions as very critical component for this particular module. Now, this is the end of the lecture for this particular chapter. And if you have questions, please send me an email and I will answer to you. Thank you.